come in as they do. But in the interest of time, we can definitely get started. So already introduced the talks. I would like to make a more formal introduction of our panelists today. Our talk today is about experience design, and we will explore how experiences essentially, whether it's in real life or virtual, how does that make people want to stay longer, be more engaged, and spend more money with that brand and with that company. So I've already introduced myself. My name is Ryan Dean, and our panelists or our speakers today, Lori Tynes, Quaker Simonette. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Lori. As she mentioned, she's the principal interior designer at LT Design Studio, which is a Bahamas-based art and design firm. It is full service. She mentioned her areas are in residential, hospitality, and commercial designs. The studio has worked on several major projects, residences in Old Fort Bay, Albany, Ocean Club, and along with hospitality restaurant design, the Blue Hole in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Marie has a bachelor's degree in fine arts and interior design and is an award-winning published designer. And next we have Craig Simonette. He said he was the CEO and co-founder, but I think he has one of the most awesome titles I've ever heard, and it's the Mad Scientist at Sign Island, which he started with his wife, Janae, who was there in 2017. Craig studied fine arts at the College of the Bahamas before obtaining a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Commercial Design from Fort Valley State University. In addition to having studied art under Bahamian master artists like John Cox, just there, the only person who didn't give an introduction, probably thanking me. So he studied under John Cox, Antonius Roberts, and Maxwell Taylor. In addition to that, he has more than 16 years of experience in the industry and is proficient in sales, design, print, production, and custom fabrication. So again, welcome. Okay, so as I mentioned, today's talk is about experience design, but let me just give an overview of what is experience design. Experience design is a design discipline, and it focuses on designing products, services, and environments with the goal of creating positive, memorable, and emotionally satisfying experiences for users. Experience design considers the entire journey of a user. So basically from your initial engagement with a product or a service all the way through to how you use it and even post-usage. But basically the goal of experience design is to create a cohesive and integrated experience with that brand. And it goes beyond traditional design methods and incorporates elements like psychology, sociology, and technology to create experiences that are functional, usable, and enjoyable. So the ultimate goal of experience design, and this is really interesting for somebody like me who works a lot in branding, is to create a deeper connection between the brand and its customers. It fosters brand loyalty, improves customer satisfaction and retention. So when all of these elements are present, you have a strong emotional connection and more spending and more engagement. So if you think about your own experiences with experience design, for example, how many of you have iPhones or any Apple product that you went into the store to get, to the Apple store? Okay, yes, I think a lot of people do. So brands like Apple, and if you've been into like a big Nike store, there's a lot of design that goes into how that experience looks and how it feels. And this is a really important part of their business strategy, this design component. When you go into the Nike store, there's a Nike House of Innovation in New York, which is it's huge. It's lights and it's like very flashy, but it really makes you want to buy Nike, and it makes you want to stay in the store, and it makes you want to buy everything in the store. And that's really what experience design is about. So with that introduction, let's jump into our questions. So just a quick housekeeping before we get started. When we do start the question and answer period, If you do have a question, that's great. I think there will be a microphone that you use. We are recording this and it is streaming live on Facebook, so please speak into the mic and speak as clearly as you can. And just please be respectful of the other guests in your comments or feedback. And that's it. Okay, so let's jump into the questions. What kind of research do you do when you're designing an experience, and how does that research play a role in how you think about designing the best experience?
I think I should take this one first.
Okay.
I think first you have to figure out, well, you've met the client already initially. So once you've gone over the scope of works and what the client's needs are and what their overall goal is aesthetically, traditionally my research is really more organic. I travel, I spend a lot of time throughout the islands of the Bahamas, and I go to trade shows and research different materials and products so that I'm always up to date on the different ways we can create a space. So I'm constantly learning. I do a lot of auctions. I go to a lot of auctions because I'm inspired by life, really. And so I constantly try to stay up to date with my research. I'm always researching.
Same. For me, it's pretty much the same, but I figure the more information I can get from so here's the thing, when a client comes to us, they come to us with I don't expect the client to come and say, hey, they come and say, I need a banner, or I need a feather flag, or I need a sign. Okay, I mean, that's good, but I need to know what is your end game, like what are you trying to get out of it? So the more I can get, I kind of dive into the client. You know, it's good to find out their brand, you know, the story, their story, you know, as much information about their brand as possible. I like to ask them for past stuff that they've done, past designs, anything that would give me an idea of, you know, what I could provide to them, because I'm not just going to take what they want and then they just walk out the door thinking that they're satisfied and nothing happens with what they buy. I want to be able to, you know, like I said, I'm a solutions engineer kind of. I want to be able to have them, like you say, it's an experience. You come in, we greet you, what's your problem? Well, you don't need a banner. I think this would be much more effective. You don't need a feather flag. I think what would be more effective for you is if you would take this route or do this. So for us, the more information we get for them, the better it is for us to kind of solve their problem, you know?
So when you're designing for a space and you know more about your client's brand, do you ever kind of map out the customer journey to understand how that consumer will use the space and therefore think through how that experience should be, especially at different touch points in that space? Tell me about that process.
Create a plan, program, create a plan, concept development, design development. These are all key points that get the client to where they actually get the product that they want. So it's a lot about problem solving really, and trying to find out what is it that the client is really going to be happy with, because our brands are client driven. And so we have to make sure that whatever we do create is the experience that the client wants.
But do you think it through from the client side or from the customer side?
Like I said, I don't expect like a cosmetologist to come in and say she knows exactly how to market her brand. She's coming to us for that, so I expect her to be good at cosmetics. So I'm thinking they're going to come to us to help them. So we need to. It's not for us to say, okay, well, I think you should do this,
Right.
but it's what have you done? What's your demographic? You know, what do you want your clients essentially walking out of your place? How you want them to feel? You know, so for us now, how do we get them to feel that way with the services that we provide? Yeah, so yeah, it's never just turnkey. Like
Right.
Right. Yeah, not every client is completely different. It's not like we have like a sticker and this this works for all healthcare. You know what I mean? Or this works for all hotels. As you can see, Bahamar has several different brands of hotels, and none of them are the same. Not even any of their public spaces. So we just have to, while the client is important and we are creating this, we want to create and make the space special, their needs are essential as well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think their needs are 100% essential. It's just that they might be focused on, I mean, they're coming to us with a problem to solve. So
Right. As an expert.
we tap into them as much information as we can get to be able to help them. So, it has to be client driven for sure.
Part of what you're describing is the process of design thinking. So that process of design thinking and really, it's just thinking through what is the end user's challenge and what is the solution that this could provide. So you're thinking it through you're almost like working backwards, right? So you're thinking, okay, what challenge am I solving for this end user? And part of design thinking requires empathy, right? Because you have to put yourself in that user's shoes to really understand how they're going to use the space and what expectations are in relation to the brand. So how do you feel empathy plays a role in how you design experiences for your clients? So Marie, you work in the hospitality space and in healthcare, and let me just use healthcare as an example. I mean, I don't know if anybody's been to a clinic or a hospital lately, but sometimes the experience is not great.
Right.
So if you're designing the decor, which drives a lot of the look, but how do you feel that works for designing the experience of being in a hospital? Like, can you make a connection between?
For
between
me, it's
those?
a little different when I design healthcare. I design healthcare as if I am the patient, as if I am walking through the space, through the front doors. How do I feel when I'm there? So if I come into a space and I feel sick automatically, I feel as though the product isn't right. It isn't completed. So with healthcare, you have to really be sensitive to what you're trying to achieve, and that's wellness. So people can't walk into the door feeling like, wow, I already feel sick, or you know what I mean. It's a complete experience. It's an annoyance that this noise, or people are taking long to serve you. It's the customer service. It's the look. It's just so much elements that turn you off about local healthcare that the space that I'm working on, trying to avoid that type of experience. So I am actually thinking and designing as if it is me as the patient walking through this entire space. So not more so for just the client, but multiple patients that I know. So I do my research on, if somebody, was sick with COVID, what was their experience? If somebody was sick with diabetes, what is their experience, and so my research is completely different for healthcare.
Right.
It's basically patient driven, or more so than the actual owner of the brand. It's the patient.
I went to I had the chance to hear somebody from IDEO speak, and IDEO is a design firm, it's a global design firm, and they were designing an experience. They were trying to improve the hospital experience, and what they did was they taped a camera to a gurney and wheeled it through the hospital. Because if you think about it, if you're a patient and you're going in the hospital, the chances are you're either sitting in a wheelchair or you're on a gurney. So that's how they mapped out the experience, and they made some changes to just make it a better experience towards wellness.
One of the best experiences, although it wasn't good because of course I was in a hospital, was Joe DiMaggio's kids hospital. Oh my gosh, they've got a golf course, a little mini putting area, and they've got so much excitement that the kids don't even feel like they're sick. They just feel like they're in the playground. And I think that's important when you're designing healthcare, that you pay attention to the patient and their needs and be sensitive that they are sick and they don't want to feel sick.
It's crazy because my baby was born in Jordan last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they made like she said, typical. You go into a hospital. And I'm only speaking about the hospitals I know over here. It's not for the patient. It's just to like get them in and out or whatever. But Joe DiMaggio, it's colorful. They have these huge murals on the wall. You go in, you don't even realize it's a. They have what's his name, Brito, a big sculpture piece from
Right.
Brito in the front. It's
It's in
amazing.
Miami,
It's a really,
yeah.
really nice facility. It made the journey. You have to be there for 3 months. So it did not. It was hard, but it could have been much worse had it just been gray walls,
Right.
and just boring furniture.
They also have like zoning as well. So that's important when it comes to design as well because hospitals are huge and you can get lost. And so with the murals, that gives you like a zone. Okay, you're
Like
Right.
wayfinding.
yeah, so you're able to find your
It was
way.
almost color coded.
Correct. Yeah, so they use psychology in order for you to get through your pathway without worrying about the fact that you're
Yeah,
there for
they
being
definitely
sick.
went into psychology.
Yeah, I think it's a good experience there, even though you're there for being sick. Yeah, and I was there often.
I think that this is a great segue to the next question about design of the physical space and how that influences the customer experience. So we were talking about healthcare, but if we think through just how the physical space looks and feels, and even smells, because that's a part of the experience, right? How do you think that influences, and what are the ways that influences the customer experience?
I think interior design, you get to flex a lot of your muscle with experience design.
Mm-hmm.
We get to flex our muscle when a client, when we get to walk into a space and they're like, this is where we want to have an event, and then I get to go everything you have to take into consideration, smell, everything, your senses, your emotions, empathy, the user, I hate to say user, the customer journey. Of course for me, consultation with the client, but I prefer, I get to flex on those. I'm pretty sure Laurie gets to do that all the time.
Yeah, I think smell is a very big deal. Like
Yeah.
for me, have you recently entered the Rosewood? It smells heavenly, really calm, luxury, sophisticated, and that's the first thing that hits you when you arrive, even more so than what you see.
Mhm.
And so you have to awake all of the senses when it comes to designing the experience, designing the space. I think that, say, that might be an error that we have in maybe some of the medical facilities now is just forgetting about the fact that there's a human factor there.
Yeah, I think that the human factor is really at the heart of it, right? So the whole need for empathy, the whole need to understand how the space would be used from a physical perspective, just from like a wayfinding perspective, how humans are going to use the spaces. That's really the heart of the experience design.
For sure. And we got for our storefront, people walk in our storefront and they don't even know they're in a sign company. I did not want it to be set. We did not want it, me and my wife, we did not want it to be set up where you come in and there's like, oh, you get this retractable banner, this X-ray, blah, blah, blah. We hardly have any products out front, but when you come in, we want you to feel comfortable. We want you to be comfortable enough to sit down and feel like you could chill, relax, because we want you to be in a comfortable environment, a comfortable mood to be able to make the right decisions. If you're going to be spending money with us. So for us, we always got to have candles lit. The decor in the front, we change it out seasonally. So, for us, it's like when you might not see it. People say when they come in, they don't even know they're in the Bahamas, So for us, it's trying to take them out of
The everyday
expect.
take them out of Palmdale, get them comfortable, open up. First off, we need you to be comfortable. And then what's your problem? What do you need us to do for you?
Yeah.
So you're speaking about office, right? So I had a client that's super into Christmas, right? And I hadn't even put Christmas decoration ups in my house as yet. But they were coming over and they wanted to talk about design and all that kind of stuff. My office was like a Christmas theme park for them. And that sold the
That's
overall
all,
design because I paid attention to what they really, really enjoy and what they like. And you have to understand the person that you're working with and what makes them happy in order for you to deliver that space, and also to use your expertise to really develop what their wants are. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you know,
Has to be a balance.
at the end of it, the reason why companies and brands use design is because design will make you forget how expensive whatever you're gonna buy is. You know, you just you're less sensitive to the price. If you really go into a store or an environment and you're like, it smells good, you know, things look great, you feel comfortable. You don't recognize all the elements that are there to make that experience in that experience, but you know when those elements are missing. Like you know when you go someplace and you don't like the vibe and you want to get out, you know? But when you go someplace and that experience is there, the design is right, it does make you feel like whatever you're in there to get is worth it.
It's hard to monetize an experience though. It's hard to, you come in and coffee, cafes, great example. I think you go in and you want to buy a coffee, right? You're gonna spend like $3 max on a nice coffee, but cafes tend to give you an experience. You're coming in, they want you to sit down. You might just be spending that $3, but the smell, the color, the furniture, they talk about cafes in New York, like various restaurants in some of the big cities, not even the big cities. To be honest, I like kind of Lewis and Steens. If I'm just going to go ahead, I like Lewis
I
and
think
Steens.
you do a great job.
I think Lewis and
we all
Steens,
agree.
they take it and they've done an amazing job because they've given you so much to look at. When they hit you with that bill, and it's a great bill. Lewis and Steens is a great bill, but you have no problem spending it because they've already given you so much for this one cup of coffee.
Yeah, you got the experience before you even got to it.
Right, like
to order the coffee.
Yeah, like they're really true to that New Orleans brand.
Right.
Exactly.
And I want to use that to segue to the next question in how do you think that a really good experience design or an experience design contributes to the development of a brand's identity?
I would say like Christian Vuitton. Have you ever been in their stores?
I have not.
Have anybody been in Christian Vuitton stores? No? Yeah. So they create an artful experience, and even though their shoes cost so much,
And they're uncomfortable,
that part as well.
but they're beautiful.
Right. So women around the world find that boutique experience, no matter the fact that the shoes may not be the most comfortable, they're so beautiful, and that experience is so amazing that the shoe gets bought. Same thing with, say, a Louis Vuitton bag. What is so special about it? But people in Paris line up every day just to get a bag in the Parisian Louis Vuitton store. It's because the walkthrough, it's so much more than just the bag. It's the experience that you get buying the bag.
Yeah, the experience itself kind of can dictate, you said the Nike store in New York. I want to live there.
Yeah.
Like I love that store, but it gives you so much you want to buy all the stuff out of there, even if it doesn't look good, but they give you so much of an experience. It's like a 4-story, huge building, art everywhere. They've taken their shoes and made it in sculptures. You're getting an experience. You don't look so, but you can the experience design at brands. I think if they put it into the experience, I don't think people have. I think it adds to the value of your brand.
I agree.
Much more. Like it's not It's not something like I come here, buy this, leave.
Right.
You bought it, you know what you're buying, and you're like, oh, I don't feel great about buying it, even though it's exactly what I want. They put a price tag on it. They give you an amazing experience because now you get to talk about it. We're in the Bahamas talking about Louis Vuitton and
Right.
Nike in New York, and we probably bought. You got something from out of that store.
I mean, no, I don't have, it's uncomfortable, but the experience was great.
Yeah.
I did go with a friend and we did have an experience, but I don't personally have that. But Harrods for me is heaven. And like you said, that the Nike store, you can stay there. I can live in Harrods for quite some time. It's huge and the branding, but they have multiple brands within a space that creates this epicness of like luxury, and it is overwhelming, but it's also like Disney World for people
It
that
is.
love brands
Yeah.
It is.
and luxury brands. It's amazing. They have one floor just for shoes,
It's why the companies.
just for furniture.
It's why the companies that are doing so well because it's not just the product that they're providing, it's what you're gonna get on top of the product that
Yeah,
you're
right.
providing.
That's it.
I think the experience design for a person is like, how can I get them to leave out of this door with the banner that more than the banner. It's not upselling. It's
Yeah.
getting more than what you asked for, but you want them to feel like, wow, I didn't even know I
I didn't even know I wanted
You
that.
didn't even
want
want it,
that.
yeah.
Oh, these guys helped me so much.
And if you connect that to the brand, the thing about the Nike store is like you said, you want to live in there, right?
Mhm.
What that does is all those intangibles give Nike a cool factor.
Yeah.
And the cool factor is for people who are sneakerheads, people who like Nike, even if you don't like Nike, you have to admit like what
Nike's
they're
cool.
doing. What they're
It's
doing
what-
is cool,
That's
right?
how they
So
separate themselves from all the other
Yeah.
brands. They put
Yeah.
a little bit
Exactly.
more into their experience design,
and
everything.
then what that means that if they say, okay, just do it, and this is what our core values are, we think you should go out there and do your best and be awesome. When they do collaborations with musicians, with athletes, that is an extension of who they're saying they are, right? But
Exactly.
it is this real life experience that makes that real for somebody that may not have the shape,
Yeah,
So-
they partner and they have the proper scope, like, they're very, very, very detailed and specific about who they want to highlight and promote as their poster boy
Right.
or poster girl, 'Cause
Poster
they wanna-
person.
Poster person. Poster person. They want to be cool, cool.
They do want to be cool. Nikes.
They are cool.
Yeah, they are cool. I have Nikes. I don't have Christian Louboutins, but I do have Nikes.
Yeah, I think everybody has at least one pair of Nikes. And when you think about the development of that brand identity and how the experience on a virtual platform or in real life, how that informs that brand identity, how do you see the role of consistency in maintaining that?
The role of consistency and experience is, I think for me, it's a difficult one. It requires, because now you have to kind of always evolve. You can't, just because in 2020 you started with this and it worked in 2020, it's 2023 now, so it goes back to research. You have to kind of constantly research
You have to
to
constantly
know,
learn.
learn the trends, learn the industry that your clients in, to be able to adjust and to be able to give them the necessary information that's going to allow their customers to experience the feeling that you want them to feel, with their products or their services. So I think that's a harder part, because it's an evolution. If you can get a client to work with you for a substantial amount of time, you will see that your design now or your product now is nothing that it was 5 years ago. It's evolving, and it should keep evolving.
Right.
I think that's it's rewarding, but it's not just because we did it then, let's do it again.
Right. I think consistency doesn't have to mean that you don't have change.
Absolutely.
I think consistency means maybe consistently with the customer service, consistency on the level of what this brand brings, and the comfort of the shoe. If we're speaking about Nike, So you have to really think about being consistent of the product more so than necessarily the style, really.
I think that's where innovation, creativity comes in. I think it plays a bigger role in the experience as opposed to the technology or the like what you use to the client, you have to become customer consumer based, right? You can always say, okay, I can go with the process, I can go with, I can hire people, or I can try to automate, but in either of those roles, you're still evolving, you're still moving. And so for that, the innovation, a lot of people kind of like to say, well, I need to, maybe I should try to make a website or app or do this, and I need to change my app or advance my app. That's cool and gravy. I think the experience that you're still providing for your client needs to be the most innovative thing you do.
I think so.
I
And
agree.
I think a big part of making a good experience is it's another area called service design. Because in addition to the design of the physical space, how it looks and it feels, a really important part of that is how it functions. And the service design is a huge part of that. So for example, if we just stick with Nike, when you go into the store looks great, the installations look great. How's the service?
Yeah.
When you go to buy tennis online, what's the user experience on the website? All of this goes into how people think about the brand. If you have a great product, but the interaction in your store is terrible,
They do.
that takes away from the brand. And if you are saying as a brand that you believe in XYZ core values, you believe in having fun and being open, and then the people who work in the store are not fun or open,
Right.
that really destroys the brand, and that influences how people think about the experience as well.
So with your brand, you're the face of the brand, even though you have a full staff and so on. How do you kind of grow your business, even though you're the face of the brand? You have to have multiple people work with you to develop this brand. How do we then build our brand without losing the face?
And providing the consistent experience, because if you have a customer that goes into either of your services, and they deal with you and it's great, and then they come back the next day, how do you maintain that consistency?
It's been tough.
Right, it's not.
It's been tough, and like Sign Island, yes, was birth off of my wife's and my back, but off of my character and my personality, which is what I want to exude to this day. I want people to be comfortable around me. I want them to be able to let their hair down. Let's just have a real conversation. Let's just be real. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be so business proper. The big thing for me is when I interview for my employees, I tell them, I say, I don't care how good of a designer you are, I don't care how good of a printmaker you are, I don't care how good of a painter, whatever you are. If you can't work with the team, if you can't work with my team, then you're not gonna. You've got to be able to work. I'm gonna be able to figure that out within the first month, because me and my team, they're my family. I work with them every day, and I have to be comfortable at work. I'm at work for 8 hours a day. I'm home for 8 hours a day, and I sleep for 8 hours a day. If you want to break it up into three eights for the 24, but I need to be comfortable to be able to provide the best for my clients. So if there's tension in the office, that's just not working with me. So everybody knows my character. Now I understand what my wife did with the team the other day was we did the personality test. I think it was the Briggs-Myers test, because we want to understand the people who we're working with and their personality to be able to see if they're in the best position to be able to help the client. Obviously, if somebody is an introvert, can't have them out in sales, because for me, it is absolutely imperative that if you answer the phone, hey, good day, how are you? This is Quake from Sign Island. How may I help you?
Right.
How was your day? I'm having an amazing day. I'm sorry, it sounds corny, but I need you to do that because we're from the Bahamas.
That's you, though, right? That's me
me.
too. So like when you see me and that's what you
Yeah.
expect. So if like you're saying, when we talk about branding and all of that, Nike doesn't have the face person, but like say it's a face of a brand that's really epic. But the thing
Disney?
I say Disney.
Disney,
with
Mickey Mouse.
You kind of do think Mickey Mouse and you think of Disney, but I kind of also think of Disney.
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff? Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, I guess you could say, but he doesn't.
right?
Elon Musk.
He was fun. He was.
I'm gonna go with Richard Branson.
Okay,
Right.
that's a good example.
Richard Branson, you Virgin. I don't even know what he does. I think it's Virgin. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Virgin. It's
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of stuff.
Virgin.
So, yeah,
But we know that he is like always pushing the boundaries and
Right.
doing crazy stuff. So
He's
for
a
me,
vibe.
he's a vibe. So
Yeah.
for me, Virgin's a vibe. I don't
Right.
think I've ever flown Virgin on. But
you know, I think this is
But he has products that I'm sure that you've used.
he
Yeah.
does, but
Yeah.
Virgin Atlantic has I'm probably all of the Virgin companies do, but they have a design manager and they have people that specialize in experience design, which is why they're able to. Have y'all ever watched the Virgin safety videos?
oh,
They're great. It's like a musical.
they use actors, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But they're great, and it gives you a little bit of an indication of what you can expect on a Virgin flight.
Yeah.
So I want to ask from that perspective, how do you see brands using experience design? Like Virgin has this whole experience set up, even in how they communicate with their customers. How do you see brands using experience design to differentiate themselves? And we're talking about Virgin now and Richard Branson as kind of the face of that, which also gives you an indication of what kind of experience you can expect. Because he's fun, he does all these kind of cool things. But even thinking through, you mentioned Rosewood, even thinking through how these brands develop their experiences and how they use that to differentiate themselves.
Like for me, if I talk about my brand per se, I am like Bahamian. I always say that and people laugh at it, but like real Bahamian, like Long Island Bahamian. I could draw water from the well, I could fish, I could put clothes on the line, I could wash on
I feel like
scrubboard.
there's a skill with sheep in there somewhere.
Oh, I can manage the sheep too much, but I can catch some crab. And so, when it comes to my brand, while clients may want a modern design, I will always give the experience of the Bahamas because my product is in the Bahamas. So yes, you will get a modern home, but you would get elements of the Bahamas. And that's why I constantly spend time outdoors and researching different islands, because I feel as though when you have a space in the Bahamas, it should have a reflection of what the Bahamas is, or elements of it that makes where you're building or what you're creating special, because this is the space. That's why this works, because the Bahamian art in this whole space feels Bahamian because it's been created by multiple disciplinary Bahamians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it exudes that.
That kind of almost hurts me a little bit because in signage or like branding, for us to look local, for us to come across as local will hurt us in the long.
Though.
But where
We have invested in our website,
Mhm.
so we get. If you're Google signs and print in the Bahamas, we're gonna be top of because we've invested in that, because we know that a huge industry over here is the DMCs, the events.
right?
We got to tap into that. We want to be the first on deck for that. They're looking for Bahamian, but they want to know they're going to come with all these huge frames and these huge. They want something. Traditionally, it's been that they come in with their own signs and their own team.
But they also come in with their own interior designers as well.
Exactly.
Being a Bahamian designer doesn't mean that you're not innovative. Being inspired by the Bahamas does not mean that you cannot create an internationally
I don't deny that.
But I understand that your sales
Yes.
point can't be we just Bahamian.
But how do you use that to differentiate your brand though, in terms of the experience that you provide, not necessarily the products,
Mhm.
in terms of the experience that you provide. So, okay, you're at the top of the search,
Yeah.
and then what?
They,
What's
they,
different
they,
about it?
they see our website. Our website it's a good website. It's a very nice functional website. It's a clean website across the board. It has some Bahamian flavor. It has some international feel. What gets them is the fact that we can produce everything at a cost-effective rate as international, and that's what I think gets them in the door. They call us, they speak with us, and I just need to talk to you. I just need to get you on the phone. If you get our email, and then I'm going to call you, and then consultation for me is crucial.
Mhm.
I need to speak with you. I need to see what do you want. They're coming over here. The Poker Stars came over here, and I guarantee we got that because of the our website. Traditionally they've used other sign companies and they've gotten, standard stuff. But pretty much, they go, they see, they know. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to signs. The experience that we give them is, hey, you're here, you're in the Bahamas. I'm going to work with you in the Bahamas. We're going to make this international while in the Bahamas.
Yeah, so I like, so for my design, I'm not saying, where I agree with you in terms of that.
Well, I just think we're in two different spaces.
Right, we are.
You get to like
We are, but I do believe that you have to target that international market in order for your company to be consistent. You can't just depend on the local market to develop your brand.
But of
And we're
course,
on the same page with that.
we would like to shine as Bahamians everywhere. I
Right,
think that should be an underlying thing.
right.
But being Bahamian doesn't mean we can't be, or quality or standards aren't international.
Agreed. I think that our standards should be on the level of any. We've all gone to international schools, so why wouldn't our brand or our quality be on the same levels as others? Really.
So I think that I want to ask one more question before we open up for audience questions. But I think this is also a good segue, because what I would like to know is what your take is on the role of narrative or storytelling in the experience design for a brand, because y'all went on to the topic of Bahamian and its kind of identity. How do we see ourselves, et cetera, et cetera. How do you think that informs how we design experiences with our own brands?
So for me, just because I've made that statement that I'm like super Bahamian, and there are elements in the space, I've created healthcare spaces that you would definitely be like, wow, really, the Bahamian did that?
Yeah.
So it isn't necessarily me being Bahamian saying that it would be, I think people see it as, or think of it as being regular. It's definitely not. Or local, it's actually gathering all the information you have and bringing in elements that remind you of home or the Bahamas, but on a level that people don't think about.
I think we're agreeing because I don't want anybody to feel like we don't have the capabilities in the
Right.
Bahamas to do anything
Right.
anybody
Right.
else can do internationally. The brain drain is real. You go, our children are coming, they're studying in the States and they're not coming back. We're capable. The ones that are coming back, they're super capable. For me, I just want people to know that you don't have to go to a company in Miami.
I agree.
Ship your stuff over here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you top quality stuff with a little, me. I'm pure Bahamian.
Right.
I'm gonna give you me. You're gonna get me along with what you get. And I'm an artist first. So for me, I've studied art in the Bahamas. I'm going to give you that on top of an excellent product.
So would you say that your experience from being a Bahamian artist, let's say, does that help you to design what you want your customers to experience and how you want them to experience Sign Island?
I think it ties back into the previous question about what differentiates me from, I guess, not differentiates, but me from the other sign companies over here is that, so you, commercial design, I study commercial design. I went to COE for fine arts. I got a tennis scholarship off the Fort Valley State. They didn't have a great fine arts program, but I learned commercial design. I was able to use fine arts, and then I started to learn graphic design, typography, industrial design. I started to learn all of that. Came home and just happened to start working at a sign company. I've been training in this industry. I've been working in this industry for 16 years. If you take on the extra 4 years that I was at Fort Valley, that's 20 years, you know? So for me, I'm giving you 20 years worth of experience and passion as opposed to, well, you want a banner? There's a banner.
Yeah.
But I also think that when you have, like, say a signage company come from somewhere else, they're only coming, delivering, and leaving.
That's it.
You know what I mean? You hire, like, for me, I hire so many tradesmen when I get hired. It's not just me. It's a community that's hired when I'm hired. And I think that that's really important. It's easy to say, oh, my interior designer came from Europe and, oh, it sounds so beautiful. But when you see the space, did a local designer cannot achieve the same quality or even better? It's that.
I think if I have to take just a guess at it, I would say that in some cases the way that the narrative of us being Bahamian, the way that informs, I would even say in my own business, that experience is that we understand that there's a certain narrative that people have about the Bahamas, and it is okay. Let's do this at a standard that is like a global standard. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there's a certain level of warmth that comes along with our culture and how we relate to people. And at least for me and for my team, like, let's bring that through in when we're on a call. You know, it may be a formal call with formal people, but we are still, you know, we're still cool. We're still interesting and not informal necessarily, but it's not stodgy. So I think it's bringing through some of the characteristics that we believe in as Bahamians and making that a part of that experience with our brand and with our company, with our team. So with that said, I would like to open up the floor to any questions from the audience. Any questions, comments? Did anything interesting jump out at you?
Oh, I got a question, big bro. What's happening? Hey, how much of like revenue comes from SEO? I know you say you're using like the search engine optimization, and then how much of it, like when people reach out to you, how much of them actually convert internationally?
Internationally, man, our turnover rate internationally is extremely high. Well, for somebody to go, if they're having their event, they're gonna have their event here. They need to find suppliers. Once they see that we're able to do it, the turnover rate, I mean, the conversion rate is crazy. To be honest, it's really, really good. In the past, like 10,
you need exact numbers.
No, but in the past 10 clients that have reached out to me for events that they've had in Bahama or Atlanta and anywhere else, I think only 2 have not gone with me. And then in the end, they still, it's crazy. They reach out to me initially and then they say, okay, maybe I'll go with my own guys, bring the signs over. Everything in signage, Murphy's Law is ever present. What can go wrong will, and with signage, it will. When you're printing, it will go wrong. You're going to install it, and you don't have a backup. You're going to mess up. Who's local to print it now? You're going to reach back out to me. So we're getting some of the money regardless. You know, I mean, for us, my wife was brilliant.
Yeah.
Our SEO was like, she put us to the top, and that has given us a steady revenue stream.
Well, what makes you think what you think causing the other 2 not to really take you on? It's just simple stuff.
You know, just I think it was, you know, time frame. I'm gonna be real with people on my time frame.
Right.
You know, for us, I'm telling them the truth. I'm saying, hey, this is gonna take me this, but we have to bring in some stuff. Yada yada. This is gonna cost. The minute they start to hear that, they might doubt it. But when they see the cost, and if they're on their they got their I's dotted and their T's crossed, and they're ahead of the game, they will do it with me. I think the 2 people, they just didn't have enough time.
And what about the local side of it? Like how much I guess some of the clients come from the local side.
We kind of stepped back on the marketing a little bit. We're now doing really well. I mean,
Is it because it's less of market over here?
oh no, it's extremely competitive.
But I would also add that probably another reason for their success is based on the fact that if you do check them out, you get a good experience there, right? So the website as a first point of contact in the customer journey is a really big deal. So you could be at the top of that search, but if you don't have a website that people feel like if I decide to use this company, my service is going to be good. They know what they're doing. All of that design and all of that content is going to help to shape that perception. So that's one thing. But it is another thing for them to actually reach out in real life.
Yeah.
And then what is that like, right? So if we bring it, kind of back to that topic of that experience, that service design is a part of that experience. That website as a first point of contact is a part of kind of building the promise of what that experience is going to be like. So, and then you get into, okay, you're honest with what you're saying is going to happen, right? So it's building the trust. That's a huge factor. And it's just doing what you say you're going to do. And if something goes wrong, like you said, Murphy's Law is very real. If something goes wrong, you're honest about what happened and you fix it, right? So all of that is a part of the experience and all of that ties into your brand. Your brand is really the promise, but it is how you follow through on that makes that consistency and the reliability, and then people come back. So all of that ties into just the overarching experience.
I think for all, one second as a leader, I think for all locals, I think Bahamians are so used to bad service that when they do get good service, it's only so much. I can only offer you $1, $5 off on a banner. We're offering the same products.
Yeah.
I need you to, when you hear me talk, that I want to build a relationship. So it goes back into that the journey, 5 years from now. I want you to be with me 5 years from now because I want to build a relationship. I like to call my clients family. I want to be able to be more than just work with,
Right.
I want to get paid. But for me, how you feel, if you're not happy with your product, I got no problem you not paying. I just want you to, if I did a bad, check, what did we do wrong?
Well, this is the thing though. It ties back into what your brand is and how you deliver on that. If people think that you are a low risk endeavor, you may be more expensive than the competition. There's only so much you can compete on price. But if you have a lot of value adds built into how you offer your product or your service, that makes people less sensitive to your price because at that point it's worth it. It's like when you go, let's say if you go to Harbor Bay, right? You can get everything that you need pretty much in that one place. So it's the convenience of it, it's the low risk of it. And if it's something that is reliable and they know I'm going to go here, this is going to be good service, it's going to be a good product, and they do what they say they're going to do, then they keep going back. But this becomes a part of your brand because that they tell somebody else and they're like, this was great and you should use this company, right? So that's how it works. You had a question?
I want to bring two things to something you said. So I followed him for a few years. Right? We've known each other about 5, 6, maybe 10 years. But because I have friends in the sign business, I've been using them. I went on his website. I've been on there for a long time. So you talk about that international look and feel. Just the work, John Bull, for example. They did a work for John Bull. I saw 2 popsicles made, and it was just amazing. So that's the international level. So he has a portfolio of his work on the website. I hate bad service. I went to a multi-million-dollar sign company. The people were so rude. I walked out, left the deposit. I called them and I said, I need you to rescue me. I have a simple design. I know design, but you are the technical master. Take my artwork, make sure it's correct, size it up properly, give me a mock-up. And that's what he did.
Mhm.
So will I go back to anybody else? I doubt it.
No.
Because they're a company that's built on family and it's respect. And that's what's happening, I find, as I've gotten older here, I've lived here a long time, is that, now the age was up. Generation, even my kids, the generation is just so different now that we've lost that level of service across all industries. It's not just, one
Yeah.
industry, it's just, and so it's really great to hear an entrepreneur say, if somebody's a bad apple in my business, I can't have it because it's gonna affect the team, it's gonna affect the service. And that's what's happening a lot.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, we talked a lot about the experience and the physical design of the space as a differentiator, but that service design and how you provide the customer service, the process of delivering that service, that's also a really big competitive differentiator as well. Correct?
So I have two questions. So first one being, naturally in an experience, there are multiple elements that make up an experience. I wanted to know for each of you, what do you value most when you produce work? What element do you highlight, or what you always seek to put into your work when you produce something? That being my first question. And the next question is, when it comes to your brand, what one word would basically say who you are as a company or as a person?
Oh my goodness, y'all need a minute.
I have a whole sentence, I have a word. But, well, can you repeat that again?
Okay, so the first one was, like I said, multiple elements in an experience. I wanted to know when you produce work. So I don't know if this might be it. So I meant, you mentioned when you do work. Cost is a factor. You try to match the cost of, say, foreigners, so that it's a level playing field. So I mean, when you produce your work, what element or what do you ensure is always included, or what is important to you when you produce an element of work?
I think it's important, the process. I always want to be consistent with the process. And initially, that's the concept statement, and the concept development. So that makes the complete project strong. If you start getting all that information at the beginning, we both have to do that research and getting everything you possibly can, so that when you do develop the product, you have less human error, I would say. Yeah, because you've developed it from the initial standpoint. And then you also have to, for my position as a designer, you have to collaborate with your the specialties, like the architects, the engineers, the tradesmen, the landscapers. You have to be able to understand that while design is important, you have to work along with these other disciplinaries in order for your product to be successful. It can't just be like a one-man thing. So like, for instance, for me, also graphic design. So for instance, for me, I had this project and it's this really cool bar, and I'm like, I want like Fortune Castle on the wall. The client was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, right? Remember? And so I called him and I was like, listen, I want like these huge limestones. So of course, we can't find the limestones or like the coloration and the historical version of it. But now the backdrop of this bar is the combination of him and I working together to create this experience. And so, yeah, I have to make sure that we all understand that it's not just, when we work on projects, it's not just one element of it, and the process is very important. It's very important. But my favorite part would be especially when a client didn't get a chance to see the whole process and then come in at the end and they get that, oh, I can't believe this is my house, or I can't believe this is my space. Like, you know what I mean? Or there's some clients that are not that much of a show their excitement. They go and tell somebody else and they come back and it was like, you wouldn't believe what your client said the other day, da 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 da. So those things make me keep on doing it, because not every project is going to be perfect, and you're gonna have to learn from that era as well, but those special call-outs is keep you going.
Yeah, what's your
One
one
word? I don't have one word. I'll let you say one word. I'll think about it. I don't know if I have one word.
I'm gonna go with service for me as the forerunner for what we try to keep as the process for me. Every job is different. Every job and collaboration, service and collaboration, being two huge things that are part of the experience design. Design being probably the least most important thing, but how do you get that customer to feel that that's what I want for every one of my projects is when they leave, if they leave and they have this, you have to go to these guys, these guys, oh my, that trumps every feeling. So for me, we're gonna get them there like servants. They're going to be wowed by, y'all okay? Like y'all happy and everything. Nothing. I gotta have that around me because I might be miserable, but I can't show it. One word, where I stop.
I can't know what my word is.
One word for me would be just it's like Janae, what's up one word? You gotta do that? Out of the box. Pardon? Obsessed? But that's passionate, out of the box, like new, different.
Mine is a feeling. That is my one word. For sure. So when I create a product, I want to create a feeling. And so that's my one word. Yeah.
You got a question or a comment?
I have plenty. So, diving into the process, right? I think a couple of things stood out to me. And I'm very process driven. Like I'm like diving deep into the technical stuff, right? So one of the things that we did before that he mentioned was understanding where people fit. Because I think we we want people to fit where they don't belong, right? And sometimes we don't even think about that, right? Like if we're talking about, service is bad in the country, but did we really understand the people who we put in that position? Sometimes we get desperate because we have a smaller country, so the pool is a little bit smaller. But I think at the end of the day, a good process is to say that, does this person fit in this position? And that's really understanding the person or the people, which goes, it's the same as developing the experience for the customer. And so I like to say, if we're building something for a customer, we have to think of our brand as a person as well. And so if I was to connect with somebody, who is that ideal somebody I want to connect with? Like, well, how do they look? How do they feel? And what are their aspirations? And can we build that for them? So if our ideal client is the young entrepreneur or the small business owner, what makes them tick? And I think what Quaker has done well and has built is figuring out what makes them tick from beginning to end. What makes a small business owner tick is that they're fast. They're trying to figure things out in real time. So what do you need? You need that website. You need that digital storefront to say, okay, that person's up at midnight just trying to figure things out. They can't call you because it's a little too late, but they're moving, right? And so you realize that. And then when they finally reach you, they're looking for someone who has the struggle, who even if he doesn't have the struggles, that person has the struggles that you are and understands those challenges as well. And so your brand connects with that personality and it's easier to build the experience that way, right?
Yeah.
And so talking for a great group, sorry.
No, but I mean, you're correct. You are
so
correct.
thinking to that process,
Yeah.
I don't actually have a question. But I just wanted to.
No, but I mean, that's really how you create a great experience, right? You have to think about who's going to use this experience, and what should that be?
Right, and that's where you talk about empathy, right? Empathy is putting yourselves in their shoes saying, if I stepped in here today and I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, what feeling do I want them
Right.
to have at the end of that?
Right.
And how can I create that feeling regardless of where they came in at?
You know, on that note, I'm going to give you my word now. So for what we do, we work a lot in communication strategy, and so for me, it's like human, right? Because you want people to understand things in the simplest way possible for them, and not in a way that is complicated. Like the thing I hate is like governmenty talk. Like I hear to refer to the aforementioned same blah blah blah. Like say things in the simplest form. I think that's the most powerful way to say things, and that's in the most human way because you're not two machines talking to each other. You're talking to another person who's reading your email. So that's my one word. But again, thinking through like what's the person on the other side. You had a comment?
So this is kind of based off of a recent client experience I had. So I wanted to know both of you guys' opinion on how you would handle client pushback when you submitted a proof to them, for example, and they're giving you feedback that pretty much goes against your years of experience, your technical skills, and your knowledge of design theory. How do you handle a client that, I guess, doesn't know as much as you, but you want to be, I guess, still give them what they want at the same time?
I have two answers. One would be not every client that comes to you is the right client for you. That's the first one. But I also think that there are some times that you have to ask the questions differently. You understand what I mean? That's what accountants do very well, and auditors and all of them. They ask the same question but different ways so they can get the answer that is intended to actually help their client get, resolve their accounts. So earlier on in your career, I do feel as though it's important to work and try to find a way to come up with something that is aesthetically pleasing, but also something that is good and can suit the needs of the client. You know what I mean? So, like, say it now. Hi. No? Did I turn it off?
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, I got it. So, we still get that. I still get that. I would say, there are sometimes, you can work and you can develop it, but you have to come to terms of if you're willing to and it's worth it. And if you're not, then you have to know when to let it go, because your brand and reputation has to do with the product that you create. And
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the end of it, you need to also be proud of that work. So, but the longer you've been working, the easier you get to be like, this is what I do and this is what I don't do.
That's a crazy one because it could kill your creativity. The society, they want you to dumb it down. Starting out, oh, I want a for sale banner. Yeah, I know you want a for sale banner, but I could also make it look good. No, I want it red on white. Okay, boom. That's cool. I mean, signs is you got to make some money. So I put it in. We put stuff in writing when I sent out the quote. Put it in writing when I sent out the proof. Put in the various stuff that that I'm going to be giving you. Now, if you want something dumbed down, I can do this for you. But there is no way in any way, shape, or form that you are going to say that sign I did this. If the sad thing about it is, it will in signage, it will kill your creativity because you're coming out with, I'm going to give you the best because I know, but that's where it comes from. Now we're saying we're taking it from what the customer wants as opposed to what we want and finding a middle ground. But it will kill your creativity if you're giving all on graphic design, unfortunately, unless you are designer for Coca-Cola, Nike, or one of these major companies, it will kill your creativity, it'll kill your passion because you are 9 times out of 10, you're now going to have to do. It's very rare that I'm going to design something for a client, give it to them. I love it. 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 Oh, I don't like this. Can you? And they dumb it down to you can no way in any way, shape, or form say we will not promote this. We're not going to mark, advertise. You cannot say Sign Island did this. You ain't getting no discount either.
Cool. Okay, what I'd like to do is get, we should wrap, and I want to get just your closing comments on experience design, how you see it kind of evolving in the Bahamas. We spoke about a couple of brands here, we spoke about a couple of companies here, but just your summary on parting words on how you see it kind of growing in the Bahamas.
I think there are a lot of creatives in the Bahamas that are working on an international level. So for instance, this gallery alone, no lies. The opening, I cried. And it was just like, I really did. It was, everybody laughed at me. I didn't get it, but I went to art school and I was very emotional because I felt like this is what an art gallery should be for us. And so it was like, this is really what I went to school for. So the experience that he intended to create, for me, it was beyond what I even thought I wanted. And I think that that's important for design. It's not giving up what we are as a identity, but it's creating a space for us that we didn't even think we needed.
It's a really good summary, good point.
I think experience design is it's the way it's slowly getting there, but I think it is the way. In fact, like I was literally going to say the same thing. You walk into here and like you don't want to leave. You want to see every part. You want to read these, everything about this. So for me, experience design, you're seeing it in the apps. They're making it way easier. Checking out your payment. It just is what is going to make the client come back, and it's going to separate. It's going to separate companies that do and don't.
Right.
If you don't believe in experience design, you are going to have to believe in it because the people who do believe in it, they're the ones who have all the clients. It's the journey, and that customer is leaving satisfied every time. I'm the best plumber in the world. I don't need to mark. I don't need to do this. I don't need to boom. But you don't got no clients.
So you kind of do.
Kind of do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I think this is a great way to end our discussion today. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and I want to thank you all for coming out. This was the first talk of 2023, so you're the first ones. Thanks for coming. I hope that you enjoyed it. We had some great questions and comments. I want to say thank you to the current team, John, Justina, Jordan. Sorry, I just blanked out for a minute. And I want to encourage you to follow the current on Instagram. You can follow Onward on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn as well, so you can stay up to date with when the talks are happening, the times and the topics. They'll be on every other month until the end of this year, and they're all interesting. They're all exciting. So hope to see you out next time. And thanks again for coming, and have a good night.
Neil, you can take a photo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, my phone is speaking so much English.
I don't know, right?
Thank you, guys, respect. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I stayed late totally cried. It's like a small cry. It's like, what's going on?
Oh, it didn't? No, it